bless us, everyone.
Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to episode 22 of our Christmas Carol reviews. If you don't know what's going on and you want to catch up, please be sure to click the link in the description. It'll take you to the introduction of this playlist so you can catch it, and you'll see all the other reviews there as well. So today, we go back to another animated special, and I have to say that a lot of these specials from the 90s on are very up and down, and there's no real in-between on them either. They're either very good or very bad, and this one was a little bit on the bad side. And when I say a little bit, I mean it was kind of disappointing. Let's get into it. First off, when we talk about the overall story of Scrooge, they added too much coincidence to it. It opens up and Belle, who's will be Scrooge's ex, spoilers, is in the beginning, and Scrooge just got the contract to the hospital she's working at as a nurse, and while she's working there, she finds out that it's been repossessed, and the doctor she works for gets taken to debtor's prison, and she realizes that Scrooge now owns the hospital, so she writes him a letter. Okay, a little bit of an interesting twist on that. I was fine with that. But then when we go through it, there's just more on all of that. But we'll get to that just throughout the whole thing. Just a 1 out of 5 for that. Just keep that in mind as we're going through this. Then Bad Scrooge, which was played by Simon Callow, I'm just like a little bit iffy on a lot of that. He acknowledged all of the rich and then realizes he was worse. So, I mean, he was kind of trying to defend himself while still bragging that he was the worst. The dialogue was kind of weird on the beginning of that. But the old Joe character, spoilers, doesn't end up in the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, ends up throughout the whole book as Scrooge's collector. Okay, Scrooge gives him all the contracts of overdue notices and foreclosures and sends old Joe to get them, so everything. And then throughout the whole story, there are these two mice that, while they're supposed to be really cute, and I'm sure that kids enjoy them, actually turn out to be really annoying and even at times take away from the story. Like, Scrooge gives this mouse cheese. I mean, he gives them cheese and really loves one of these mice, and it's just really interesting and all that. And throughout all of this, there's too many cutscenes. We're here, then we're here, then we're here, then we're back here, then we're over here, then we're back here, then we're over here. And it just didn't make sense. It was very disjunct in the storytelling. And then the way they switch stuff around, Marley shows up before the charity guys, and he shows up to the counting house. I mean, that part was neither here nor there, but it didn't follow the books. So we had to take stuff out of that. Bad Scrooge ended up with a 3 out of 10 on that one, and we'll come back to the rest of Scrooge in a little bit. But let's move on to the Marley interpretation. Takes place in the counting house, not the chambers, and missed a lot of the stuff that Marley had to be Marley. Like, Scrooge wasn't eating or never had lunch, so there was no indigestion or him trying to make any sort of thing. But it was a 2 out of 5 on the book just for the things that it was missing. Then we get to the interpretation. The chains are constantly pulling Marley back, and he has to pull the chains forward and like keep himself there as well. So it's just kind of distracting when you're talking about how this all works and everything. So I didn't really like the interpretation. I'm sorry to say 4 out of 10 that. So a 6 out of 10 for the Marley portion of this. And we get to the Ghost of Christmas Past, and this is where it is so different from everything. So we start out, and I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. We get to see Scrooge young, great, goes through the book, or goes through the school, I should say. And then when Fan comes to get him, we find out that Belle is Fan's best friend, and we start this like double dating montage between Scrooge and Belle and Fan and her future husband and everything. And it was just so different. It got a 1 out of 5 on True to the Book, and then the interpretation itself from there. It was good up until I could even deal with the double date thing, but then we get to the last 2 scenes of the Ghost of Christmas Past, and we find out that Scrooge's father does not agree with Fan's choice of husband, and because of that, he leaves her out of the will and gives everything to Scrooge. And Scrooge has a chance to give stuff to Fan, but doesn't. He's like, oh, well, this is my money, so I'm just going to keep it, and I'm going to start up my business, and who cares about you? And she leaves crying, and they leave it on that. But in the book, Scrooge is supposed to love his sister. He's supposed to forget that love in the showing of Fred, but he still loves his sister, and that was just, I didn't like that at all. And then when he gets this money, he breaks up with Belle because he wanted a prenup. He puts a contract in front of her saying if something happens, you don't get half my money, and he gets a prenup. And Belle's like, this is not the man I married, and leaves. I mean, it's just so different. I did not like it. A 3 out of 10 on the interpretation, so a 4 out of 15 on the Ghost of Christmas Past. Then we get to the Ghost of Christmas Present. It followed the book really, really well, but there's one point that was different, and it was the fact they tried to make Scrooge look even meaner than he was because he gave Tiny Tim pneumonia by pouring a bucket of water while Tim happened to be in the carolers that was at the counting house. And it just didn't work. And then some of the acting choices and the voices didn't really fit. I didn't like it. So a 4 out of 10 interpretation. So only an 8 out of 15 on the Ghost of Christmas Present. Then we get to the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. Didn't follow the book at all. It had some things here, but obviously Old Joe is no longer available to be there, so that whole sequence is gone. The exchange, yeah, kind of happened, but wasn't really there. And everything else, 1 out of 5 on the book. And then when we get to the interpretation, most of the things why it was so quick, or one of the things, it was just quick. It was quick. I mean, the interpretation was so quick. They missed so many things, and they missed so many things that make it important. And then Marley shows up again and helps with Scrooge's demise on all of that. It's just, it didn't work. So a 4 out of 5, or 4 out of 10 the interpretation, giving it a 5 out of 15 on the future. And it was just so disappointing. And then we get to Good Scrooge. He breaks the fourth wall. Like he's going through and it's just nothing and everything. So, and then he looks at the eyes like, what am I supposed to do? Why am I asking you? He didn't actually say that. That's just something else. So it's like a 1 out of 5 on that. And then the transformation, it was so quick, so abrupt. You didn't get it. The Belle and Fan thing was kind of weird. And then you add in the whole, Belle trying to save the hospital. It was just, no. 2 out of 10 on that. So Scrooge only got a 7 overall out of 30. Cinematography, it was just no. 2 out of 10. Costumes, they seemed like the wrong costumes to me. Okay, 3 out of 10. Now the music, overall, it took away from the story. It was distracting with everything. But they had one pretty good song called What If that gave it a little bit of redemption. So a 4 out of 10 on that one. Okay, guys, like I said, some of the 90s and 2000s movies seem to be going up and down. I hope it changes in the later 2000s in this part, but we'll have to wait and see. So, like I said, not a very good interpretation on this time. A lot of it was directing choices and screenwriting choices and just unnecessary things that really took away from the story. But still, it's a Christmas Carol, and it had that whole transforming to good. So, I guess it has to be okay. But anyway, be sure to check episode 23 coming out tomorrow. And make sure to please like, comment, and subscribe down below. God bless you, and that's a wrap.